In one word, how would you describe your comedy?
Manic.
Silly.
Feminist, but kind of naughty and fun.
Musical.
Manic.
Shocking.
Eclectic.
Art.
Indecisive.
Concise.
Evolving.
Feel good.
Weird.
Fun.
Surreal.
Hilarious.
Serious. Pissed off.
Self-deprecating.
Brilliant.
Pubescent.
Inane.
Surprising.
Stoner observation.
Oh, it's different.
Wordplay.
Incompetent.
Personal.
Energetic.
Conversational. Cheeky.
Chaos.
Underdog.
Nerdy. Tentative.
How do you manage your time, balancing all your gigs and writing and everything with just everything else that happens in life?
Quite methodically, actually. I've got a room in the house that's got a computer in it, and I've got nails in the wall with bulldog clips on and bits of paper held onto the bulldog clips, and I'm very organised and methodical and literally go, right, I'm doing a couple of hours sort of admin as far as financial admin, and then a couple of hours emailing around about gigs, and then a couple of hours working on my show, and literally treat it like a real job. I've realised that's how you make it work, is you kind of go, okay, I'm going to start at 10. I'm going to have half an hour between 1 and 1:30, and then I'm going to stop at 5 and make dinner. And because I found when it's not structured like that, I think it's the danger of being self-employed. When it's not structured, you end up sort of half working all the time but not really getting anything done.
I haven't found the correct balance, because I know that you've got to have the stamina to do this, because it is, I'm doing close to 16 gigs this month, and I know how shattered I'm going to feel at the end of it, but I want to do it. But I know that if after that time I'm exhausted, I'll take a week or two off, no more than 2 weeks, because after 2 weeks I need to gig.
By getting up at 4:30am. Yeah, I've got to get up at 4:30am, go for a run around the common, cook dinner, get to a fellowship meeting, get home, get the kids to school, college or volunteering, and then I've got space in the evening to do like a couple of gigs a week.
Sometimes you feel like you're gigging too much, and you'll do a gig and it'll go really, really well, but you'd rather have been sat at home watching the football or something. And at those times I realise life is more than comedy, or more to the point, my life makes my comedy. So if we're only doing comedy, then everything becomes less funny. So I try and just be honest with myself about how I feel about doing a gig.
There's a hierarchy now. Friends and family are lower on that hierarchy at the minute than doing gigs is. So if you want to do something, like if you wanted to be a musician, that would need to be the sole focus of your entire life. If you want to be a comedian, it's all consuming. It has to be the sole focus of your life. It has to be the one thing that's above everything else,
How I manage logistically is that there's 2 of me, which is to say that any communication you have ever had from me that you didn't see me writing was written by my other half, James, and he is me for all the bits of being me that can possibly be done without actually being me. So he does my website, my mail outs, my mailing list, and so he'll write a draft of my mail out, and then I'll go and look through it and go and kind of rephrase it in the way that I talk, and reorder it in terms of what I might add in, or like there's something else I wanted to mention, and then he sends it out.
If you've got an engagement that's a very important engagement, make that immovable. Like, you've got to set some priorities in your life. If you're thinking about doing comedy professionally, then you've got to drive yourself incredibly hard and be aware that you will lose friends. Like, comedy's working hours exactly clash with the peak socialising time of everybody in their 20s and 30s. Like, that is just how that is, and you need to accommodate yourself to that fact, is that you will lose friends over it.
I have a certain part of the morning where I have to email bookers and make sure that my calendar is full. And when I have available dates, make sure that I'm emailing clubs, these are my avails throughout the month. And then I have a part of my morning where I listen to certain podcasts, where I have to feed my brain inspiration. And so I have part of my morning where I do that. Meditation has been life-changing for me. I meditate every morning, every night. Then I do my writing every day, where I try to block out 2 hours. Most of the time I can do it, but it's really hard to do that. I used to think, you only write when you find inspiration, but I think that's bullshit. I think just sit down and write.
I know other people who kind of do promotions work, who do basically people who have flexible hours always find it a lot easier with kind of time and money really. But I think even the friends of mine who I like admire the most are people who do really serious full-time jobs and still do this and do it well. But I think that's to do with drive really. You find a way to balance it. You just do, because you have to.
My job can be very demanding because I'm on the road sometimes for days at a time and I can't do anything, but I'm lucky enough that when I'm not on the road and when I'm not filming the TV show, my days are pretty much my own to do what I want. And the admin that goes into being a startup stand-up comic is exhausting. Just the tweeting and the Facebooking and the follow-up, thanks for having me, is this slot free, is that, I mean, there's a lot going on logistically, and I think the only thing I can say is that if you want to do this, you've got to be serious about it.
But it's just a case of you have to find time for it. Like I said, if you love it and you want to do it and you enjoy it, you will find time for it. I'm quite lucky. I work a part-time job, and it's like during the daytime, so then I've got a chance to be able to go out in the evenings, and then any nights that I'm doing, they will be in the evenings as well. Because normally for open mic it tends to be from Monday through to Thursday that there's most of the open mic nights, and that's when I'm mostly free, so it works out quite nice that I've got a chance to just go to open mics then. But it is a balance because you realise you've got to go and see your friends and family as well as just chilling out and having some time for yourself. And for writing, I think there's nothing wrong with taking a bit of time out.
You know, it's almost like when you're a kid and on summer vacation, you have all this time, so you just don't really do anything with any of the days because you figure you got tomorrow off, and you got tomorrow off, and then all of a sudden when you're back at school, the weekends are really important. You got to treat it like that, you know. It builds up to the show. The show is part of it, but the business around it is what's necessary as well. So I keep myself regimented and I keep myself organized because there's so much to do. There's a remarkable amount to do if you want to be successful or want to be, you know, the money doesn't just show up. And especially in the scene that I'm from, you have to be very proactive. You work a lot and you push hard and you book your own gigs and you chase and you do these things and it becomes part. And the problem with stand-up comics is we're unique in the art form because in performance art particularly, because maybe with the exception of music, maybe, but we have to be so many things. We have to be graphic designers because we got to make posters. We have to be social media people. We have to be booking agents. We have to be basically understand contract stuff. We have to be performers. We have to be writers. We have to be. There's so many things we have to be able to do, and you should be keeping those skills sharp by doing that stuff every day. So the time kind of gets organized for you. Plus, there's a lot of travel usually, so you've got a lot of time on buses, on planes, in cars, on trains. And that's something that you have to kind of keep track of. I've seen more than a few comics kind of fall on the sort of not being prepared time-wise and getting to gigs later. Because if you become that person, you know, that really affects your reputation. So, yeah.
This is hard in my personal life, and the only thing I can, in a way, hope for is that friends will understand and at some point will try to stop me. Because it's what they're there for, it's a two-way street. It always is. So you never really, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. That's the thing. I feel like I'm compromising because I'm not, it's a sacrifice when it's not really worth doing. Otherwise it's a compromise, and it's just it's supposed to be a compromise because if I want to do this, I cannot do another thing.
One negative all my mates and family say about me is that I gig too much. So I don't really, unless it's a really special occasion, because usually people hang out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, that's usually when gigs are. On a Sunday, I'm usually too tired from gigging. So unless it's a really special thing, I won't cancel my gig for it. My gran had her 90th birthday and I got to see all my family there. But then you get into someone to look, because since it's an interesting job to do, when they see you, they say, how's comedy going? So your day off from comedy, you're busy talking about comedy. So when it comes to a personal life, I genuinely don't really have one. But yeah, it's quite depressing actually, that. Need to get that sorted.
Turns out that was a deep question.
You've really hit a mark there, man. Thanks very much.
I used to go to a lot of classes, like dance classes, hula hoop classes, stuff like that. That's gone. That's the first thing to go.
Another problem that I got with guys is that I like to do a lot of the chasing, and guys don't like to be chased unless they're playing Grand Theft Auto. But it seems like if a man pursues a woman, it's romantic. But if a woman pursues a man, it's just a little bit psychotic. Like, a guy could buy me flowers. I mean, they don't. They could. And that would be fine. But I can't stand outside his house singing Wuthering Heights. Especially when he's not even in. I recently got contact lenses. Can we check if you wear contacts?
Yeah.
I've been talking about them so much that my friends have started to joke that they're like my new boyfriend. And they kind of are, because at times they can be irritating. After a while you start to just not notice that they're there. And they're replaceable monthly. Thinking about switching to dailies? I really have.
How has gigging affected you financially?
Oh fucking hell! I'm already a social person anyway, so don't put me in a room where I can buy alcohol and talk to loads of people. That's a problem. If you're doing ribs or burgers or something like that with the said beverages, it's more of a problem. If I know a lot of people there, it's a huge problem.
If you can fit it in, I try and fit it in so gigs are around where I work, but it is an expensive hobby. And for me, it is a hobby which is very close to my heart, but it's still a hobby, and I'm under no illusions about that either. But it's an expensive old thing, and have gone and travelled off to gigs further afield, and enjoy them. But I think I tend to stay more in the London scene, because if you're not being paid expenses, it is actually an expensive thing to do.
Because last year when I was gigging, I was pretty poor, and I was really conscious of the money. Sometimes, I'll go down to the gig, I'll put myself in, then I'll go down to the offie, like have a couple of cans, and then go back to the gig, because it's just saving money.
I'll say, if it was any other job, I would have quit, because you intern about 3 or 4 years where you're just spending money traveling before you start to make any money. Occasionally you start to break even, and then you start to slowly make a little bit of money, but it's not something you do for the cash by any means.
When I was unemployed, it essentially was pretty much all I was spending my money on was train tickets. Because I live in Surrey, so I have to commute to London. But nowadays, it's fine because I travel to work and I've got my travel card, so that's been great. So I just turn up to a gig. The gig's been cancelled. That's fine. I'll just go home. In the past, when a gig was cancelled, it was like I've just spent 15 fucking quid in like 3 hours.
Gareth and I have been like we've done a few festivals where we compare stages, so we get a couple of £100 from that. We usually get 150 or 200 quid each from Brainwash, unless like 1 or 2 we have made about a tenner, which is quite frustrating, but that was in quite the early days. So yeah, I mean, I do make money from it, but certainly nowhere near enough to live off, which is a bit annoying.
Well, it's like anything else. There's an inconsistency with it, right? Like I said before, there's a level of proactiveness that's required. If you want to make a living as a comedian, you are now a small business owner. That is your business, and if people want to buy your product, you got to be able to get it to them. You got to be able to figure out how to tell more people about your product. I mean, everyone wants to be, Louis C.K. or Bill Burr or Doug Stanhope. They all want to sell tickets, but those guys spent 20 years getting to the point where they sell tickets. And the only reason they sell tickets now is because they're good and a lot of luck and a lot of being in the right place at the right time. So you have to figure out how to get through to the point where you have to realize that realistically, you're probably not going to be a superstar. That's the way it's going to work. You're probably going to be, if you stay in stand-up comedy for your career, you're probably going to be a working class stand-up comic. You're probably going to be someone like me, a journeyman comic who, you may be funny, you may do well and everything else, but when it comes down to it, a lot of it's gig to gig.
I'm at sort of a level now where I'm getting paid for gigs, and I wouldn't be out of pocket. It doesn't make me out of pocket. But I think when you first start, you sort of have to take that on the chin, because you've got to pay your dues and try and get in there. When you prove yourself, then you can start getting a bit of money out of it.
You might buy yourself a drink, you might buy a friend a drink. So it doesn't tend to be too expensive. You can do it cheaply, but yeah, it still does cost. But again, that comes under the labour of love. Otherwise, you'd just be sitting at home going, oh, what am I going to do tonight? And you might order a takeaway and that's going to cost you more. Or you might just be sitting at home doing nothing. I'd rather be out doing something and spend a little bit of money, because otherwise, what are you earning money for?
Every time I go on stage, I want to do something new. Like, there's a new idea I'm playing with that I'll need to go and get this and get this and get this. So it's about getting the actual props and the information. So it's taken a big hit in that respect.
Well, I never eat at home anymore, so a lot really a lot. You just eat out because when I'm never home. So I used to cook even my lunches for work, and now the little free time that I have, I am fucking spending in the kitchen. It's just like it's not happening. So financially, it's a big expense. Luckily, I don't drink much, so usually like at nights I don't really need to spend money. Like especially socially, like I don't need to drink socially. I like to drink socially, but I don't need alcohol to be sociable with people. Like I'm an asshole no matter what. Alcohol, no, it's no point in pretending and socially drinking. But yeah, no, it's an expense. I'm pretty much running 2 jobs right now. Only one pays me and the other I pay.
So doing Edinburgh Festival, that costs me money, but I don't see that as a loss. I see that as an investment into the act. So I don't see that as throwing money away. I see that as investing money into making me better at the thing I'm doing.
Because I don't have to worry that much that I've got a really cool day job already, I could say yes to every gig, and I do. Gigs where they're like, I've said yes to a bunch of out-of-town gigs that didn't pay and that cost me £100 round trip on a train, but I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position I can do that. I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position when I go to these gigs that I can buy beers for all the other comedians, and I can buy beers for the promoter, and I can buy beers for the MC, and all of these things, like, I'm not gonna lie, somewhat help out. You know, it helps out that money is not a factor for me. And there are some comedians that will come to a point where they go, look, man, I need something for the gig. Like, I need something just to even pay for my tube ride over here. Or, you know, a lot of places in London are pretty cool. You don't have a 2-drink minimum, but like in New York, a lot of times to go on stage, you have to do the 2-drink minimum also, and those drinks are like $12 a piece. I mean, you're looking at $25 just to perform somewhere.
In Manchester, not a lot, because everything's within walking distance where I'm living. In London, it's virtually where all my travel money goes, is going either to gigs of my own or going to other people's gigs to support them. But virtually, so it does leave me a bit tight for money sometimes. But you know, I'd rather my money go towards me pursuing my ambition than any. Because if I didn't, it'd probably just go into buying junk food and CDs, really. So I like this going to something to pursuing ambitions, really.
And pretty time consuming, because apart from the expense of going up to Edinburgh for a month and organising your show and organising whatever expenses you have on the side, be it brochures or posters or all of that, it's expensive because of the amount of time that you have to put aside to do your Edinburgh show. Time where you can't be gigging, you can't really be, it's harder to go out and get paid work if you're not continually looking for the work, if you're not signed. So that it's expensive in time as well as in just money. But I wouldn't say that it, what it did for me is that it made me see that there are jobs I don't want to do. Like I used to work for a friend, and she'd pay me a bit, but not very much, to look after her shop, and I might go home, sometimes I'd go home with 50 quid, and I realised I don't want to do things like that.
My dad, he's 87 years old. He just got remarried to a much younger woman. Give it up for him. And I asked him how he got a 35-year-old to marry him. And he said, oh, I told her I was 98. Did I mention Dad's rich? If my mother, God rest her soul, I miss my mum, poor mum who died, she would have something very classy to say about it, like, merde, je te hais, espèce de connard. I hate you, you species of cunt. One thing that I can't stand is bigotry or racism of any sort. And I guess that's why my dad's family always hated my mother, because she was Jewish and they weren't. And now that she's dead, they hate me instead. So I thought that I would try to bring my whole family together by marrying a Nigerian. Dad said to me was, he is going to take you for a ride. As a matter of fact, he did take me for a ride on his cock 5 times a day. I loved it. It was brilliant. I mean, that's 35 times a week.